Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to go ahead and get started. For joining us for Iomega Storage for Anywhere Access and Sophisticated Data Protection. We have Jeff Graham with us today from Iomega, and Jeff is a product manager for network storage at Iomega with responsibility for channel marketing in the U.S. region. Jeff is the lead evangelist for channel partners at Iomega, providing weekly webcasts and in-person trainings on storage solutions and channel incentive programs. Prior to joining Iomega, Jeff held the position of Director of Channel Management at Overload Storage and built the VAR channel program at St. Bernard Software, now known as Edgewave. So before I turn it over to Jeff, I'd like to just cover a few housekeeping items. This is a live presentation and it will be recorded. We will be holding a live question and answer session following Jeff's presentation. So if you have any questions either during or after, please use the Q&A panel that can be found on the right side of your screen. At the end of the presentation, we will also be announcing the winner of our giveaway, an Iomega Superhero. So please make sure that you stick around for that because you do need to be on the presentation for the entire time, and then we will make the announcement and follow up with you. So now, without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Jeff. Jeff, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks for the introduction, and thank you, everyone, for attending. I hope you find this interesting. I'm going to start off with some real basics. So if you're a power user and you're familiar generally with the benefits of NAS, bear with me as we go through some basic use cases. Then I'm going to cover some specific Iomega unique capabilities, particularly for Mac or Apple products, as I think that's what this audience came to hear about. And then finally, I'm going to give a product line overview, and I'm prepared to go as shallow or deep as you folks would like to go. So hope you'll make good use of the Q&A at the end of this session, and I can answer some good questions for you about our product line and its capabilities. So let me start with the real basics, most common applications for NAS, and in our case, the Iomega NAS. So the biggest use case and probably most prevalent use for our products are in the backup space. Backup is hugely important whether you're a home user or a business user. If you're a business user in particular, you've got valuable data distributed amongst your computing platforms. Backing them up is critical to keeping your business running. If you're a home user, you've got home movies, pictures, etc., unique data that, if not backed up, can be lost, causing at least heartbreak, if not a yelling at from your spouse or whatever. So the typical use case and why NAS is preferred over DAS or direct attached storage thing or external hard drive, because you can back up to an external hard drive, no problem with that. But in order to do so, you need to walk around each computer, plug it in via USB port or FireWire port, and remember to do those backups. With a NAS, it's attached to the router. The storage is there for all of the other devices on your network to use, and you don't have to remember to do the backup. That's probably the weakest link in most backup strategies, remembering to do the backup. So if you're a PC user, you've got some backup software maybe, or you've got backup capabilities within Windows. In fact, we ship a backup app for PCs with the product, with our NAS products. Most Mac users are familiar with Time Machine. It's a very robust backup application that's built into the operating system. So that's a great boon, and our products are integrated or capable of working with Time Machine. I'll show you how easy that is later in the webcast. So if you're a Mac user, using Time Machine is kind of a no-brainer. You may also have iOS devices like an iPad, and I'll show you how we are integrated with that to allow you to back up data that's on your iPad. So you might have, for example, unique photos. I've got an iPhone. I take a lot of pictures. It's crazy these days how many people you see out and about. They're taking pictures with their phones. They're taking pictures with their iPhones. So, there's a lot of unique and valuable picture data out on these iOS devices And if you're not syncing with iTunes, you're not necessarily backing up that data. So I'm going to show you how we've integrated that so you can easily back up all of these devices to a NAS product effortlessly and without having necessarily to remember to do it, which, like I said, is probably the weakest link. So backup to the device is fine. If you're in an office situation, for example, and all the devices are in the office and the NAS is in the office, so all the data is backed up to the NAS, but what if something catastrophic happens to the office location? You know, I'm in San Diego. We get fires that run through here, it seems like every 2 or 3 years. You know, businesses burn to the ground. It doesn't help you to have your data backed up if it's in the same location as the laptops or the desktops. We have integrated with cloud services such as Mozy and Amazon S3 so that you can further back up your data to a third party somewhere else, a different physical location. That's huge for data protection. If you're looking at very valuable data, if your business relies on data and you cannot afford to lose it, these folks, Mozy and Amazon, for example, provide you that extra safety net for disaster recovery. We've integrated with them, and that is included in the product. The files you choose are automatically copied up to either the Mozy service or the Amazon service, and you kind of don't care where exactly that data is. All you know is that it's off-site and that it's protected. They do, of course, charge for that service. There's a monthly cost in terms of so many dollars per gig, and the recovery method can either be an online or, you know, via a CD or DVD that they send to you should you need it. So I have a good friend who's an attorney, works out of his house here in San Diego. He's a great use case for this. He uses a NAS for local backup, so in the event that something goes down, he can restore quickly and easily from the NAS. If his house burns down, God forbid, he's got his data protected. He uses Mozy. Either one of these services work just fine, and so his data is backed up to the NAS, goes from the NAS to Mozy. Anything happens, he's protected. So he's got very valuable client data, and if you have valuable data, I can highly recommend this type of a backup strategy. Again, it will go into details later about how we integrate with it and how simple it is to use. It's there, one button, you sign up for the service, and you're protected. Now, let's say, I don't know, if you've been around for a long time, you've seen businesses come and go, and I'm not suggesting that Mozy or Amazon are going out of business anytime soon, but let's say that you would prefer not to rely on a third party for your cloud backup. Iomega has a unique feature. It's called Iomega's Personal Cloud. It's integrated. It's built into the product. It's no charge with the product. But what it does is allow you to set up a communications between two devices in two different locations. And we've done this very easily, so it's not, you don't have to have a VPN connection between sites. It can be between a business and a home or two business locations. And this is a way, as I said, we've set up to simply connect these two devices. So this allows you, if you're putting backup data or putting primary data on one device, it allows you to replicate it to a different device, another Iomega device in another location. Like I said, this could be in San Diego at your one office. The other one device could be in Boston at your East Coast office. If something happens, you know, if the fires come around and they wipe out your one office location, you've got a copy of your data protected here at your other location. You know, could be across town for that matter. It doesn't have to be across the country. Either way, we've made it very simple to set this up, as I said, without any complex networking. You select the files and folders and the times that you want to copy. There's no additional fee. So remember, the third-party cloud services charge you a fee, which is reasonable. They're providing a great service. They should get paid for it. In this case, the only fee that you would pay is for the second device. the data is protected in the event of a disaster, and the recovery method is up to you. So you've got that data now in Boston. How do you want to get it back? Do you want to ship the device back, or do you want to make CDs from it in Boston and send them back to the West Coast? Up to you. So this is kind of a build your own, no monthly fee. You do, of course, have to buy the second device. So this is a exclusive feature of Iomega, great data protection feature. And so again, kind of building on the theme of backup, protect your data, we've integrated some fantastic technologies to help you do that, not just locally, but backup remotely. Now, as kind of a byproduct of that technology that allows you to set up a simple connection between the two network devices, we've also enabled some fantastic sharing capabilities within the product as a result of this personal cloud setup. So in the use case we saw just before, you're replicating from one device to another. They've set up a network connection without the complexities of a VPN, but you can leverage that same functionality to set up a network connection between the NAS and yourself, your own computer, or other people that you might invite to join your personal cloud. So this is great if you're a personal user. It may be for sharing pictures, sharing home videos, etc. Home videos, for example, let's say you don't want to put them on YouTube and show them to your family that way. Attaching them to an email is impractical. You just invite a family member, for example, to join your personal cloud, put your videos on the NAS device, and they have access to those videos remotely as if they were on your local network. Okay, and there's a good home user use case. If you're a business user, let's say you're in the graphic design business and you have contractors who work for you on large graphic design files, you can invite other collaborators to join your personal cloud. Keep the large files here on your NAS centrally, have them work on those files from wherever they are in the world, and you've got control of the data files, but the ability to share with remote users simply very easily. So again, no need to email large attachments back and forth, particularly large video files, large graphic design files, etc. You can grant access only to the specific folders or content that you specify. So this is something you totally have control over. You can instantly share. And this is something probably more applicable for home users, but we do have social media plugins. So for example, if you're interested in sharing with Facebook friends, sharing on YouTube, sharing on Flickr, etc., you can set up folders on your NAS specifically to automatically share to Facebook, YouTube, and Flickr while you keep the original content on your NAS. Okay, so byproduct of having this simple personal cloud networking scheme, you can invite friends and family, coworkers, etc., to collaborate or share content on your NAS. Simply, easily. It's no charge, and it's platform independent. So you can have, Mac users, PC users, Linux users. I happen to be an Ubuntu user, and I use this capability all the time. So, also helps you if you are looking to access your data remotely. So the personal cloud functionality, again, it's like setting up almost like setting up a VPN between the NAS and yourself, no matter where you are. So you're in the office or you're at home, that's no problem. Obviously, you can get to your data on the NAS. What if you're out at the coffee shop, for example, and you want to work on, centralized your files now on the NAS, and you need access to them no matter where you are. If you're traveling, etc., this personal cloud connection allows you to access your data on the NAS at your home or office, no matter where you are. So for PC and Mac, those files on the NAS appear just as if they were on a local drive. So you've got total read-write access of those files on your NAS. With iPhone and iPad, a little bit different. You have access to view data files and to stream media files. So not necessarily read-write, but stream or view. Okay. So let's talk about then a little bit. So those are the benefits, kind of the basic benefits of NAS. There are other benefits, but I just wanted to cover the high points for now. Let's talk about the Iomega NAS specifics for the Apple and Mac and iOS platforms and see specifically how they integrate with that. First thing I mentioned early on is in backup. So Time Machine is, in our devices, it's enabled by default, meaning we are by default, when you plug the product in, we are enabled and ready to go as a Time Machine target. There's a destination share, meaning a storage space already identified on our NAS that is there and ready to go for Time Machine. In fact, the name of the share is Time Machine. And there's no need to set a fixed sparse bundle size. If you're a Time Machine user, you may, when you go through the setup, you may have been asked, how big do you want that share to be, or how big do you want that backup space to be? You might have to go through the process of figuring out, okay, how much data do I have? How much space do I want to set aside for that? Let me go calculate how many backups I want to keep. Not an issue with our NAS. We auto-grow the space so that if you keep backing up, we will grow the space in order to hold your backups until there's no more space. So real simple to configure. It's already pre-configured on the NAS. You just need to go into Time Machine and select the NAS as your backup target. When you go to configure Time Machine, our NAS target will be there, and you just select it as the data store. Very simple. File sharing. Real simple setup in, again, in our NAS. We fully support AFP, the Apple File Protocol. The NAS is auto-discovered, so when you plug in the NAS and power it on your network, you power up your MacBook, whatever, it'll be there already. The shares from the NAS will be there, show up automatically in Finder. And then the last bit, and this gets into, if you are using the NAS, particularly in a business environment, but maybe even in a home environment, you want to set up some restrictions about who can access what. And that's what I'm showing here. We do have the ability to set up users real simply. This is a kind of a screen grab of the Iomega management console. So you can see I've got 3 users set up. There's the administrator, there's myself, and I set up a user for mom. And I could set access restrictions for mom and say, you don't get access to certain folders, or, I'm going to give you your own folder that you can use only, and we don't have access to. So, again, this is kind of a home user example, but in a business user use case, this would be much more critical. And so it's real simple to do that. I mentioned the personal cloud use cases for a couple different reasons. One is for data protection across sites, and the other was data sharing or collaboration with others. I wanted to give you an idea how simple it is to do that. So let's say that you do have a coworker, works in a different location, completely different state, whatever, and you need to share some design files back and forth. You would simply invite them to join your personal cloud. And this is an example of what the personal cloud invitation looks like. So they receive this invitation that says, hey, you've been invited to join somebody's personal cloud. Are you a Mac or a Windows user or a Linux user? Or, and what this guy over here is saying, are you setting up a personal cloud for another Iomega device in order to be able to do that replication? So this gives you an idea of how simple and kind of the ease of use and how we've tailored it for the different users or the different use cases. So obviously, if you're a Mac user, you just click on the Mac icon and install the client piece, and you're connected automatically to the personal cloud. And then you've got access to that storage on the device. So integrating with iTunes. This is not necessarily something unique to Iomega, but it's something that you might take advantage of, if, particularly if you've got lots and lots and lots of media, or you've got multiple users with iTunes accounts. So great thing about having a NAS, any NAS really, But you know, of course, I'm always promoting Iomega NAS, is that it is a great shared library for iTunes. So when you have a shared library, you eliminate the need for having these islands of content on everybody's computer. You know, you can, you know, let's say my daughter buys the new Miley Cyrus album, for example, and I really would want to hear that, but it's on her computer. If we have shared storage, I get to have access to her downloads in the shared library, and that's true for, you know, my downloads as well. So it's a very nice way to share content, keep it all consolidated, and eliminate the islands of content on each computer. The other really nice thing about this is that when you combine, and this is unique to Iomega, when you combine a shared library with Iomega's personal cloud, that means that you can have access to all this shared content wherever you are, as long as you have an internet connection. So that means my shared library is on my NAS at home. I've got, and in fact I do have a shared library with about just under a terabyte of music files. I'm obviously not going to take those on the road with me, but when I do travel, I'm at a hotel room, I've got an internet connection, I can pull up iTunes in my shared library, I've got access to all that music even though it's not on my PC. So real nice differentiator here with the Iomega product. Any NAS will give you a shared iTunes library, but only Iomega will allow you to take it with you wherever you go. Let's talk about the iOS devices a little bit here. One of the, you know, I think everybody has one now maybe. One of the nice features with our iPhone and iPad app is that there's two basic functions. One of the nice ones is it allows you to back up your photos and contacts. I happen to use iTunes and I sync frequently, so I personally don't use this one, but there are a lot of people apparently who do not sync with iTunes frequently. So you're out taking pictures, etc., and maybe even, you know, there are times when you don't have your laptop with you and you can't sync. So let's say you go on vacation, you take a lot of pictures with your iPhone, you don't have your laptop with you, so you don't have a backup. Our app allows you to back up either all photos or selected photos to your NAS back at your home or your workplace. So you know, you can imagine a scenario where you're out and about taking pictures. I don't know if you've done this, or maybe you have some friends who've done this. You know, you lose your phone. So whatever you took or whatever contacts you created between the last time you backed up and then are gone. If you use backup, if you use the Iomega NAS and our Iomega Link app, you can back up your contacts and photos as you go. So one nice feature, again, you know, kind of back to the whole data protection thing, that's a really big emphasis of the Iomega product line. Make it easy and safe to back up your data. The next use case, and I touched on this earlier, is access to all your content, no matter where you are. So this is through the ability to find shares on your NAS, you know, whether it's movies or music, and this is the one I tend to use right here, music. As I said, I've got a lot of music on my NAS at home, and you're able to view files and stream media from your NAS to your iOS device, no matter where you are in the world. Now, that's true either, you know, Wi-Fi or 3G or 4G. Obviously, if you're trying to stream movies over 4G, you may be limited, and it's going to use a lot of data. So something to be careful. I think there's even a reminder when you launch the app that says, hey, this might use a lot of data if you're streaming. So now I've talked about all the use cases and kind of the integration points. I haven't talked about the product line much, so I'm going to jump into that. I could spend a lot of time on this, but I'm going to try to keep it in a reasonable time frame and then open it up for questions. And if you have specific questions about the product line, I'll address them then. The Iomega NAS product line spans from a single drive very inexpensive network storage device. So if you're just a time machine user and you're not going to use anything else, I just want to back up my computer or the computers on my network, our basic OneDrive NAS starts at 1 terabyte, goes up to 3 terabytes, and it starts at under $200. So, I would say rivals the time capsule pricing. So even if you were just going to use it for that, so it's a, time capsule replacement, less expensive, and it's got a whole bunch of other features that you may or may not use. Okay, so that's it's the home media product, really targeted toward home users. Although to be fair, we've got several major retail chains that have thousands of these out at their retail locations, backing up their point-of-sale data. So it is a nice aluminum case, robust product, gigabit Ethernet connectivity, very solid product, and it starts at a very reasonable price. Moving up the product line, these two products, the iX2 and the iX4, here we've got a 2-drive NAS. 2-drive allows you the ability to create a RAID set. In fact, it ships pre-configured as RAID set. RAID means that you've got redundant drives. So whatever's on the one drive is mirrored on the other drive. What that affords you is, in the event that a drive fails, your data is still protected. So you've still got your data on this other drive here. You pop in a new drive, the RAID set rebuilds, and you're back to full functionality, but you never at any time lost data. So if you're storing primary data, important, valuable data, my suggestion is you look at start looking here. I would not, for example, put the only copy of my home photos or home videos or any home business data on a single drive device, including a laptop. Always back up somewhere. So if this is a target for backup, that's great. If you're looking for primary data storage, start here. Primary meaning the only copy of my data. I always suggest make a backup regardless. So whether you back up to the cloud or back up to another Iomega device, this is where you would go. iX2 and iX4, difference between these two drives here, 4 drives in the iX4. 4 drives allows you to what's known as RAID 5. RAID 5 gives you a level of redundancy so that if a drive fails, you've still got access to your data, but it makes use of 4 drives, and you get basically 3 drives worth of data storage. So great for a power home user, maybe entry-level business, small business, comes in, starts at 2 terabytes, scales up to 12 terabytes in these two models, anywhere from just over $300 to just to about $1,700. Moving upscale a little bit more. Now these products, these are 4 and 6 bay NAS products, focused on performance, scalability. These products, these two come, they start empty. If you wanted to bring your own drives, and in fact, you can even populate these with solid state drives if you wanted to get real high performance out of these devices. So anywhere from empty or no storage, bring your own drives, up to 18 terabytes of raw storage space. Starting at $750, goes up to $3,800. Now, for business users, we have several rack mount NAS products available, PX4 and a PX12 rack mount. If you've got a wiring closet that has a 19-inch rack, or if you need up to 36 terabytes of raw storage, these are the products for you. Of course, they're going to be higher performance. They have a higher level of redundancy. More gigabit Ethernet ports. The PX12 has 4 gigabit Ethernet ports. They scale up to, as I said, 36 terabytes for just about $10,000. So still, for that amount of storage, very affordable. Now I'm going to hit on a couple of, I've got detailed slides on each one of these products. I just want to hit on a couple of points as I go through these. I'm not going to bore you to death with the gory details. A couple things I want to point out, though. 3-year warranty on all of our products.